It was 12:47 a.m. when I heard the knock, 3 slow, heavy knocks, echoing through my small wooden house like someone pressing a hand against my heart. I remember staring at the clock on the wall, watching the red numbers blink in the dark, thinking maybe I was dreaming. The storm outside was getting worse, rain lashing against the windows, thunder crawling low across the sky. My dog, Charlie, was growling, not barking, just growling, his eyes fixed on the front door like he could see something I couldn't. I whispered, "It's just the wind," but even my voice didn't sound convinced. The air inside felt wrong, thick, like the house was breathing slower than me. I pulled the blanket tighter and told myself not to move. But then the knock came again, this time softer, almost like whoever was outside knew my name. "Jason," a voice whispered. I froze. The sound wasn't loud, it was quiet, broken, like someone speaking through water. But I knew that voice. I'd heard it just yesterday at the funeral. "David?" I whispered back before I could stop myself. My brother had died less than 24 hours ago. Car crash on Route 9, closed casket. I'd seen his body, or what was left of it. I stood up, barefoot, the floor freezing against my skin. Charlie backed away from the door, whimpering now. "Who's there?" I asked, but my voice cracked halfway through. The porch light was flickering like it couldn't decide whether to live or die. I stepped closer. Through the peephole, I saw nothing. Just rain falling in sheets, the sound of water slapping wood. But when the lightning flashed, I saw a shape tall, still facing the door. I couldn't breathe. "David." I whispered again, but this time the word barely left my mouth. My brother had been buried that afternoon. I'd stood there, rain soaking through my suit, watching the casket sink into the mud. I'd even stayed until everyone left because I couldn't. I couldn't leave him alone. But now, standing in front of my door, I heard his voice again. "Jay, it's cold out here." My heart stopped. That's what he always said when we'd come home late from fishing as kids. "It's cold out here." I reached for the handle, hand shaking so bad I thought I'd drop dead before touching it. But then I remembered something. When we buried him, I slipped my old wristwatch into his jacket pocket, the one Dad gave me before he passed. "You'll keep it safe for me," I'd said in front of everyone, half laughing, half crying. And when the lightning hit again, I saw something glinting on his wrist, the same old watch. The gold strap was shining through the rain, like it was alive. I stumbled back, tripping over the chair, heart hammering so loud I couldn't even hear my own thoughts. Charlie barked once sharp, terrified, and then ran into the kitchen, tail between his legs. The knock started again, faster this time, like whoever was outside was losing patience. I screamed, "You're dead." The sound of it didn't even feel real, just something torn out of me. Silence followed, the kind of silence that feels like it's listening. Then slowly, the handle turned, not a twist, just a slight movement, like fingers brushing metal. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife I could find, and dialed 911 with my other hand. But there was no signal. The storm had killed the line. My reflection in the window looked like someone else, pale, shaking, eyes wide. I whispered to myself, "It's not him. It can't be." But my brain kept showing me that wristwatch. That voice, maybe I was losing it. Maybe grief was doing this. But then the door creaked open just a few inches, enough to let the cold air crawl inside Jason. The voice came again, closer, wetter, like his throat was full of rain. "Why did you leave me there?" My stomach twisted. He sounded angry now. I said, "You died, David. You're gone. I saw you." A pause, then a whisper, almost kind. "Then why can you still hear me?" My hand tightened around the knife. Every light in the house flickered. The power went out. I stood there in complete darkness, the sound of my own breathing echoing off the walls. Then a single beam of lightning hit the yard, lighting everything up for a split second, and he was standing there. My brother, or what was left of him. His skin was pale, water dripping off his face, his eyes wide open but clouded. The left side of his jaw hung loose, like the bone underneath had shattered. His clothes were the same ones from the funeral, soaked in mud and rain, and on his wrist my watch still ticking. I dropped the knife. I don't even know why. Maybe part of me still thought it was him. "What do you want?" I whispered. His lips twitched into something that might have been a smile. "You took something that wasn't yours," he said. His voice didn't sound human anymore, it was deeper, like something was speaking through him. "What?" I stammered. "The watch." "You can have it," but before I could finish, he stepped forward. Every light flashed white for a second, and then the door slammed shut on its own. I stumbled back, slipping on the wet floor. The sound of footsteps came from the hall, heavy, slow, dragging. Not outside, inside, no. I whispered. The knife was gone. My phone was dead. The footsteps stopped outside my bedroom door, and then a soft whisper. Jay, you shouldn't have buried me alone. The smell hit first thick, wet and rotten, like soil soaked with something older than rain. I didn't open my eyes at first. I just lay there on the cold floor, pretending it wasn't real, pretending that the footsteps hadn't stopped outside my door. But the air had changed. It was heavier, humid, and I could taste dirt in the back of my throat. Slowly, I lifted my head. The clock on the wall was dead, the red numbers gone. My phone still showed no signal. Only the wind moaned through the cracks, and in between each gust, I heard breathing slow, ragged, close. I crawled to the corner of the room, my hand brushing against something wet. When I looked down, there was mud smeared across the floor, footprints, leading from the door to the middle of the room. Bare feet, heavy, I whispered David. And the breathing stopped. The silence was worse than any scream could be. I stayed frozen, heart hammering so loud it hurt. Then I heard a faint sound, a dripping noise. Plop, plop, plop. My eyes followed it to the ceiling. Water was leaking down, brown and thick, like the roof was bleeding. I stood up slowly, afraid to make noise, and grabbed the flashlight from the drawer. The beam shook in my hand as I turned it on. The light hit the footprints again. They didn't end in the middle of the room, they led to the closet. The door was slightly open. The smell of earth was strongest there, mixed with something metallic. My throat tightened. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't listen. I took one step, then another, until I was right in front of the closet. The wood was damp, swollen from the storm. I pushed the door slowly. The hinges cried out like something alive. The beam of light slid over clothes, boxes, and then a face. I jumped back, hitting the wall, the flashlight falling from my hand. The light spun across the floor, landing on a pile of dirt. Inside the closet, fresh dirt, and on top of it, a photograph. Me and David, taken last summer at Lakewood. He was smiling, arm around me, sun in our faces. But the photo was wet, the ink bleeding, and across his face, written in mud, were 3 words. You left me. My breath caught in my throat. This isn't real, I whispered. This can't be real. But then I noticed something worse. The dirt wasn't just thrown there. It was shaped, like someone had dug a hole or crawled out of one. The sound came again, footsteps, but this time behind me. I turned slowly. Nothing, just the door, slightly open, rain still whispering outside. Charlie was nowhere. I called. His name, voice cracking. No answer. I stepped toward the hallway, the beam shaking over the walls. Family photos lined the corridor. Mom, Dad, me, David smiling, frozen in time. But as I passed each one, I swear the faces looked different. Our eyes were darker, our smiles stretched too wide. My pulse raced. Something was watching me. Then, faintly from the kitchen came the sound of scratching, like nails against tile. Charlie? I whispered, moving slowly. The light flickered, then steadied as I entered the kitchen. The sound stopped. Everything was still. Then something brushed my ankle. I looked down. It was Charlie, but his fur was soaked in mud, his eyes glassy and wrong. He wasn't moving right, his head tilted too far to one side. Oh God, I whispered, stepping back. His paws were leaving brown prints across the floor, the same wet, grave dirt I'd seen in the closet. He was shaking, whining, but no sound came out, just a gurgle. What happened to you? I knelt, reaching toward him, and that's when I saw it, something buried in his fur, a small piece of cloth. I pulled it out and felt my stomach twist. It was part of David's funeral suit, torn, muddy, and cold to the touch. My vision blurred for a second, like the air around me warped. I backed away slowly, whispering, no, no, no. Then the lights flickered again once, twice, and the bulb above me exploded. The sound made me drop the flashlight, plunging everything into darkness again. In that pitch black, I heard it, a voice whispering so close it brushed my ear. You put me in the ground. Now I'll put you there too, I screamed, kicking back until I hit the counter. The flashlight rolled somewhere, the beam flashing across the sink, and I saw water rising. Dark, filthy water spilling from the drain, carrying dirt with it. The pipes groaned like something alive. I ran to the hallway, slipping on the wet floor. My phone buzzed suddenly, a single vibration. I grabbed it, shaking. The screen flickered. One new message, from David. My chest locked, hands trembling. I opened it. It said, "You forgot to close the casket." My mind went blank. My knees almost gave out. Then a thud came from the living room, slow, heavy. The kind of sound wood makes when something drags across it. I turned the flashlight toward the sound and saw the front door wide open. Rain pouring in, soaking everything. In the middle of the doorway, footprints. Fresh, and beyond that, under the flickering porch light, something was moving toward the house. Slowly, purposefully, a figure bent forward, dragging one leg behind, head tilted, eyes reflecting white in the lightning. It was him, or what used to be him. My brother. His face was torn, parts of skin missing, the watch on his wrist ticking louder, like a heartbeat. I stumbled backward, whispering, "David, stop." But he kept coming. Each step left a print of mud and blood mixed. His lips moved, but the sound came from everywhere, echoing through the house. "You left me in the dark, Jay. Now it's your turn." The walls groaned. Every photo on the wall cracked at once, glass shattering, falling around me like rain. I ran to my bedroom, slammed the door, and pushed the dresser against it. My chest burned, breaths shallow. I grabbed the phone again, trying to call anyone. But the screen went black. Outside, the sound of footsteps stopped again. The smell of earth grew stronger, suffocating. Then a soft whisper came through the wood, so quiet I almost missed it. "Don't hide, Jay, you buried me once. You should have buried yourself too." The dresser rattled against the door like something was pushing from the other side, slow and heavy, as if the wood itself was struggling to hold its breath. I pressed my back to it, every muscle shaking, heart pounding so loud it drowned out the storm. The sound stopped for a moment. Then, softly, a whisper seeped through the cracks. "Jason." My name, drawn out like a breath made of dirt. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The air inside the room was thick with the smell of wet soil and decay, the same stench from the cemetery. My flashlight flickered weakly across the room, landing on the photo of David on my nightstand. His smile seemed different now, not warm, not alive. I wanted to scream, but the moment I opened my mouth, I heard the floorboards creak on the other side of the door. One step, then another, then silence. I waited. My hand trembled as I reached for the window. Rain splattered against the glass and lightning flashed, showing the backyard, the old oak tree swaying violently. Beneath it, I saw something. The ground was disturbed, a large patch of dirt freshly dug up, rainwater pooling inside it like a wound. My throat went dry. That's where he was buried. I leaned down, the light trembling across the floor. I expected to see nothing. I prayed to see nothing, but then a hand slid out from the darkness. Gray, wet, nails broken, skin peeling. My stomach turned as the hand reached toward my foot. I kicked back instinctively, falling hard against the wall. The bed jolted violently, legs scraping the floor, and then everything went still again. The silence after was unbearable. My breathing sounded too loud. The light beam shook as I crawled toward the door, whispering, "This isn't happening. It's not real." I pushed the dresser aside slowly, every sound echoing. The wood finally gave way with a creak that sounded too much like a scream. I grabbed the handle, opened the door, and stepped into the hallway. The air outside felt colder, heavier, like walking into a grave. The pictures on the wall were all tilted now, some fallen. I moved past them, my eyes catching on the one photo of us as kids, David covered in mud, grinning. The edges of the photo looked burned now, black creeping across his face. I turned away, gripping the flashlight tighter. When I reached the living room, the door was still open. The storm had calmed slightly, but the fog had thickened, creeping inside like breath. His mouth was open, but no sound came out. He raised his hand slowly and pointed at me. My chest locked behind him. I saw something move in the dirt, a shape crawling out from the hole under the tree. Fingers, hands, arms. My vision blurred as I realized there were more. 3, 4, maybe 5 figures dragging themselves from the wet earth. Their clothes were torn, faces half gone, but I recognized one of them. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed the knife from the counter, and pressed my back against the fridge. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. The sound of wood cracking filled the air, the front door splitting open. I didn't wait. I bolted toward the basement door and threw it open, rushing down the steps 2 at a time. The smell hit me instantly: mold, rust, wet concrete. I slammed the door behind me and turned the lock. My flashlight flickered again, the beam dancing across shelves, pipes, boxes, and then stopped on something that shouldn't be there. A coffin. My breath caught. An actual coffin. Wooden, dark, soaked in mud. I stepped closer slowly, knife still shaking in my hand. My mind tried to make sense of it, but nothing did. The coffin was open, half shut, half broken. Inside it, only dirt and one single object. A watch, David's watch, the one I'd buried with him. It was ticking, loud, louder than before. I wanted to throw it, but my hand wouldn't move. Then I heard it, a whisper coming from the coffin, like air escaping the earth. David, half-rotted, eyes sunken, lips twitching into a smile that didn't belong to him. His hand reached toward me, fingers stretched, dirt falling off in clumps. I screamed, grabbed the knife, and swung blindly. The blade hit something soft, then nothing. Silence. I panted, shaking, the blade slick in my hand. When I finally turned, the flashlight back on, he was gone. Only the watch remained on the floor, still ticking. The sky over Maple Hollow looked like bruised skin, purple and gray, clouds pressing low enough to touch. Jason's truck crawled down the old back road that led to the cemetery. The wipers dragged across glass streaked with mud and dead leaves, squealing like something alive. His hands gripped the wheel hard enough to turn his knuckles. White. He hadn't slept. He hadn't eaten. The voice on the phone kept echoing in his head. He's back, Jason. He's back. He parked beside the rusted gate. The sign above it read Oak Ridge Cemetery, letters cracked and peeling. Rain poured over the gravestones like a slow waterfall. He stepped out, his boots sinking into wet dirt. The air smelled like rust and old flowers. He walked between the graves, eyes scanning the names, breath visible in the cold. Then he saw it, the fresh one. David M. Harper, 1994 to 2025. The soil was still soft, dark, unsettled. Jason froze. The coffin below had been disturbed, the ground dipped slightly, the edges caved in. His chest tightened. He crouched down, touched the wet earth, and whispered, David, please tell me this isn't real. Lightning flashed across the sky. For a split second, he saw something standing near the tree line. A figure, motionless, watching him. He stood up slowly. Who's there? The wind didn't answer, but the figure didn't move. Another flash gone, just empty trees and dripping rain. Jason's breath trembled. He turned back toward the grave. A small photo frame sat on top of the mound, half buried in mud. He pulled it out. It was the same picture that used to hang in David's living room, Jason, Ethan, and David at the lake, smiling, sunburned, alive. Only now the glass was cracked, and David's face was burned black, like someone had held a flame to it. Jason dropped it. The frame hit the wet ground with a dull thud. From behind him came a whisper, "You should have left me there." Jason turned sharply, heart pounding. No one, just rain. He took a step back, slipped, and fell hard. His hands sank into the mud. When he looked down, the ground beneath him began to move. The soil shifted, like something pushing up from below. He scrambled to his feet, stumbling backward, eyes wide. The dirt split open, a hand burst through gray skin, nails torn, veins black. It reached for him. Jason screamed, backing away as more earth broke apart, revealing David's face pale, soaked, mouth twisted into something that wasn't human anymore. "Why'd you leave me, Jason?" The voice was both familiar and broken, wet and hollow. Jason staggered back, tripped over a headstone, and fell. David's eyes opened wide, black liquid spilling from them. He crawled from the grave, slow and deliberate, like every bone in his body screamed. Jason crawled backward through the mud, gasping, shaking his head. "You're dead, David. You're dead." David tilted his head. "You think death stops this?" His lips peeled into a grin that didn't belong on a living face. "You made me stay." Thunder rolled. Jason stood, running toward the truck. He slammed the door, turned the key, nothing. The engine coughed, then died. The radio turned on by itself, static filling the cabin. Through the noise came a faint whisper, "It's your turn." Jason hit the dashboard, screaming, "Leave me alone." Lightning struck again. David stood in front of the truck, drenched, his eyes glowing faintly in the rain. Jason floored the gas. The truck roared forward, tires spinning in mud, but when it hit the spot where David stood, nothing, just rain and empty road. Jason's hands shook violently. He breathed hard, staring out into the storm. Then something tapped on the window beside him. Tap, tap, tap. He turned. David's face was inches from the glass, water dripping from his chin. "You buried me alive, Jason," Jason screamed, slamming the gear into reverse, the truck skidding backward onto the main road. His chest heaved, his mind blurred. He didn't remember doing it. He didn't remember anything past the night of the fire. The smell of gasoline, the screams, Ethan shouting his name. He pressed his foot harder on the pedal, but the road ahead seemed endless, twisting through the fog. The voice followed him, whispering inside the cab, "Now you left me to burn." He looked in the rearview mirror. David was sitting in the back seat, his reflection calm, soaked, smiling. Jason's mouth went dry. He didn't turn around. He couldn't. He stared straight ahead as the reflection leaned closer and whispered, "I never left." The road curved suddenly, and Jason lost control. The truck spun, crashed into a tree with a deafening crunch. Airbags exploded, glass shattered. His head slammed against the wheel. Silence followed, thick and heavy. Blood ran down his forehead, mixing with rain. He blinked through the blur, trying to focus. The passenger door creaked open by itself. A hand reached in and touched his shoulder. Cold, wet, real. "You remember now?" The voice whispered. Jason turned his head, and what he saw made his breath stop. It wasn't David anymore. It was something wearing his skin twisted, burned, dripping black. Its eyes were empty holes. "You left me screaming, Jason." Jason tried to speak, but only air escaped his throat. The creature leaned closer, its breath freezing him to the bone. "Now it's your turn to burn." Lightning exploded in the sky, and everything went white. Smoke. That's all Jason could smell when he opened his eyes, thick, suffocating smoke that stung his lungs. The rain was gone. The forest around him burned orange, flames licking the trees like hungry mouths. He staggered out of the wrecked truck, coughing, vision spinning. The world roared with fire. He turned, the road was gone. No sign of life, no sound but the crackle of burning wood. His hands trembled as he stumbled backward, whispering, "This isn't real." Then he heard it, a faint voice in the fire. "Help me, Jason." He froze, that voice. It came from the flames themselves, through the smoke. He saw a silhouette walking slowly toward him, David, or what was left of him, his body glowing like coal, skin cracked with light seeping through. Behind him, another figure appeared, Ethan, eyes wide, burned but alive, dragging one leg as he stepped through the smoke. Jason's knees gave out. Ethan. You died that night too. Ethan shook his head slowly, voice hollow. No, Jason, you left us. You ran. Jason's heartbeat pounded in his ears. Memory slammed into him like a wave. The cabin, the spilled gas, the fight, the argument over money, David shouting, "You'll ruin us all." The lighter falling from Jason's hand, fire swallowing everything. He remembered running, leaving the others screaming inside. His breath shattered. "I didn't mean to, you did." David's voice cut through him, cold and sharp. "You buried me to hide what you did. You told them I died in the accident." Jason's tears cut streaks through the soot on his face. "I thought it was over." David stepped closer, the flames bending around him like he commanded them. "It's never over when you lie to the dead." The air trembled. Jason backed away, tripping on broken glass, his voice breaking. "Please, I'm sorry." The fire rose higher, surrounding him. Ethan's burned face leaned close, whispering, "Then burn with us." The ground split open beneath Jason's feet, glowing red. He screamed as fire poured out, wrapping around his legs, his clothes catching instantly. He fell to his knees, thrashing, the heat devouring him. "No, please." But the voices only grew louder, hundreds now, all whispering his name, all accusing. Through the smoke, David's face hovered inches from his, melting, smiling. "You remember what you said that night? You said you'd rather die than see us again." Jason's mouth opened, but no sound came. "Wish granted," David whispered. The fire swallowed him whole. Silence. The flames died down slowly until only smoke rose from the blackened ground. The forest returned to stillness, ash drifting like snow. Then, faintly, from the charred wreckage of the truck, a phone began to ring. Once, twice, the cracked screen lit up. Incoming call. Jason Harper. The camera would move closer, zooming slowly onto the phone until the light flickered and went out. The sound of rain returned, and in the reflection of the dark screen, David's burned face smiled once more.